What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Brock Lesnar's status for the Royal Rumble revealed, Chris Benoit was supposed to main event WrestleMania 19, Goldberg hits back at fans' criticism, Mick Foley shoots on The Undertaker's recent comments, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into the first story. Now, our first story looks at Brock Lesnar's Royal Rumble status. Is Brock Lesnar returning to the WWE at this Sunday's Royal Rumble? Many fans are asking this, as Lesnar, whose WWE contract reportedly expired last year, would be a huge surprise entrant, and rumor has it that the WWE wants to make this year's Men's Royal Rumble match full of surprises. Dave Meltzer commented on the situation in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, noting Brock Lesnar is another obvious name who could come back, but also pointing out that the only thing we do know is Lesnar is not under contract nor scheduled for the show at this moment. Meltzer also noted that neither Becky Lynch nor Ronda Rousey are scheduled for the Rumble, and that Rousey is still under contract through April 10th, which would be day 1 of Mania. Obviously, she could do a new contract if both sides wanted it. It should go without saying that just because wrestlers aren't scheduled for the Rumble doesn't mean that they won't show up. There has been talk of Becky Lynch battling Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania for the past year, so a surprise appearance by one or both wrestlers can't be ruled out. Just remember Edge last year and how much of a big surprise that was. But be sure to check back on Sunday for our coverage of the Rumble. Next up, Bill Goldberg hits back at critics. Is Bill Goldberg too old to main event? Is he too beat up to wrestle? Is he irrelevant for today's fans? These are some of the criticisms leveled at Goldberg by fans, but what does Big Bad Bill think? Based on some of the comments from the WWE Hall of Famer, it appears he couldn't care less, and he's ready to back things up with his fists. During an interview with WWE on Fox, Goldberg said, "They can complain all they want. I was brought in for a reason. I'm a relief pitcher. I like to think that I'm at the top echelon relief pitcher, and if they didn't think that there was value in bringing in that relief pitcher to close out the game, then they wouldn't call me." Billy Boy definitely makes a good analogy in referring to himself as a relief pitcher, as the WWE knows Goldberg can usually pop a crowd in small doses. But if that's not enough to convince fans, Bill explained, "And though it may be far removed from when I was at my prime, I can still kick 98.9% of their asses. If they don't think that, then walk up to me and ask me, do you think I'm ready? Well, I'll show you, and I'll find out if you're ready." The man who went on an incredible undefeated streak during his rise to the main event in WCW made it clear he knows what the criticisms are, but he doesn't let it bother him. You know, you wouldn't be human if you didn't want to prove every single person who said one thing negative about you wrong, but I'm not driven by that 5%. My life is not dictated. My daily mood is not dictated by those people. They make no difference to me whatsoever. I'm out there to provide entertainment to the best of my ability, and the one thing that you can always get from me is that I'm going to do my damnedest to prove that. Fiery words from Bill, but what do you think of his response to his critics? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Goldberg was miserable with a Mania match. Now, as we've seen, Goldberg isn't afraid to speak his mind, so what does he think about his WrestleMania 36 match against Braun Strowman? Well, apparently not much. As you no doubt remember, Goldberg was originally scheduled to defend the Universal Championship against Roman Reigns at last year's WrestleMania, but Reigns bowed out due to coronavirus concerns, leading to the Monster Among Men getting a title shot instead. Now, during a talk with WWE on Fox, Goldberg mentioned, "It was miserable. It was the situation was extremely difficult. Whether it was just dealing with the COVID, whether it was dealing with the last minute change of the opponent, whether it was dealing with having to stay and change my itinerary literally on the fly when I hit the ground. It was a very stressful 48 hours, and again, I'm a soldier, I'm not the general. I may have an opinion about it, but it's not my place to voice it because my opinion makes no difference in that situation. I always like to have had a very meaningful storyline and build up to every match or potential match that I'm involved in. It's only fair to the fans, it's only fair to my opponent, and it's only fair to me." The WWE booked the match with no build-up despite claiming it would, and while some fans were thankful that the match was short, it was still a dismal disappointment. Next up, John Cena was opposed to the WWE hiring AJ Styles. AJ Styles has been a major player in the WWE ever since his 2016 debut at that year's Royal Rumble. Yeah, we know he worked in the WWE in 2002, but that was a cup of coffee. Recently, former WWE producer Arn Anderson discussed how John Cena was initially opposed to the WWE bringing in Styles. During his podcast, The Arn Show, Anderson recalled telling Cena that the WWE needed some fresh blood and that established stars such as AJ Styles, Robert Roode and James Storm could provide it. These guys can go, I'm talking about shelf performers, and they will freshen everything up. He looked me right in the eye, and at this time John had 100% stroke power. It was his call on everything that had to do with him. He said, "Why would we want those guys? We make our own stars." While John Cena rarely wrestles in the WWE, at one point he lived up to his nickname, the face that runs the place. As such, he played an important role in what happened behind the scenes, something fans know from when he refused to put over the Nexus at 2010 SummerSlam, a move critics believe led to the Nexus losing its momentum. Could you imagine a WWE today without AJ Styles? Bears not thinking. Next up, Mick Foley defends today's WWE superstars. The Undertaker recently had some harsh comments for today's wrestlers and the current WWE product, referring to the product as soft and questioning how tough today's superstars compared to the days when he started. But one legend who disagrees with the Phenom is Mick Foley, who tweeted, "Today's professional wrestlers are every bit as tough as the wrestlers of my era were. Just my opinion." Mick Foley knows what being tough is all about, whether it's his hardcore death matches in Japan or his legendary fall from the top of the Hell in a Cell cage at 98's King of the Ring match. It looks like The Undertaker's criticism has upset many wrestlers, judging from the tweets and other social media comments we've seen so far. Though to be fair, Taker did say that it would piss a lot of people off. Next up, Ricochet wants to tag with a former WWE champion. Ricochet recently had a chance to team with a future WWE Hall of Famer on Main Event, and he's ready to do so again. He recently tweeted, "Say what you all want about Main Event, but if I get to tag with Jeff Hardy and do my own version of Poetry in Motion with him, it's cool with me." Ricochet teamed with Jeff against Elias and Jackson Riker, and while they lost, Ricochet would love to chase after the tag team belts with Jeff as his partner. He tweeted, "Hey Jeff Hardy, maybe we should go after those tag titles." Would you guys like to see Ricochet and Jeff form a team and go after the Raw Tag Team Championship? Let us know in the comments down below. And finally, Chris Benoit was scheduled to main event WrestleMania 19. Now, fans will forever remember WrestleMania 19's epic battle between WWE Champion Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar, including his failed shooting star press, where he nearly broke his neck. However, wrestling's Olympic hero recently revealed that at one point Chris Benoit was going to replace him in the main event. During the inaugural edition of his new podcast, The Kurt Angle Show, Angle discussed how he received bad news from his doctor that he was going to need neck surgery, a situation that meant that he'd have to miss WrestleMania. Angle explained what Vince had in mind to remedy the situation, and that Vinnie Mac decided that we were going to have a match before WrestleMania on SmackDown, and I was going to drop the title to Brock, and I believe Brock was going to go to WrestleMania and face a new opponent for the main event. I think they were going to substitute Chris Benoit, I believe. He was basically going to take my place. It bothered me. Thanks to some clever booking, Angle was able to hold on to the title until Mania, where he dropped it to the Beast. As for Benoit, he headlined WrestleMania 20, where he won the World Heavyweight Championship from Triple H in the main event. It's kind of weird how things could have gone differently had he actually main evented WrestleMania 19. But there you have it folks, the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.